You're watching TVC Breakfast. Brexit was originally scheduled for 31st March last year, but was repeatedly delayed when MPs rejected a previous withdrawal agreement reached by the EU and former Prime Minister Theresa May.
But Boris Johnson was able to get his own deal through Parliament after winning December's general election with a House of Commons majority of 78 on a pledge to get Brexit done. This brought to an end more than 3 years of political wrangling following the referendum of 2016, in which 52% of voters backed leaving the EU.
Britain leaves the European Union after 47 years, and Prime Minister Boris Johnson described it as a beginning and not an end. Britain's union flag was removed from the lines of EU member states' flags at the European Parliament building in Brussels on Friday evening. Joining us right now is UK Solicitor Olufemi Aina. It's nice to have you join us right now.
Good morning.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks a lot.
Now that Britain has left the EU formally, but we know there's a transition period until December this year. Yes. But right now, what next for Britain? Let me put it that way.
Well, what is next is to continue with the negotiation with the European Union. And don't forget, everything still remains the same technically until December 31st, 2020. Thereafter, that's when we start feeling the impacts on Commonwealth countries
of the new Britain
and Nigerians as well. And even if you read the report from Open Europe, which is a think tank organization, what they are saying is that once Britain finally leaves the European Union, what's going to happen is that the economy of the United Kingdom is going to shrink a little bit. And the forecast is that it's going to shrink by at least 30% or 20%. And that's going to have an effect on what is called foreign direct investment in Africa and other countries. So that is an issue of major concern. The other flip point to that is that there's this International Development Office. 40% of the projects are being carried out in Africa, you know, water resources and what have you. And now, if the economy shrunk by 20 or 30%, will they still continue with those projects? That's something we still need to look at. The other flip side to that is that, you see, Nigerian investors, would they like to invest in Britain, considering the fact that they don't have access to the European market? And that is a very vital issue, which a lot of them would like to consider. And also, don't forget, there has been this persistent criticism about China incursion into Africa and what have you. And now, with Britain not being in the European Union, would that not cause a problem? And lastly, don't forget, the Prime Minister said, look, once we leave the European Union, we are going to start a new immigration point-based system like an Australian point-based system. And that will have a significant effect as well. Would that not cause a brain drain in Africa? That is another issue, because the level of education and experience and language is what you are going to use, which majority of Nigerians and other African countries will qualify for. So it has another, that is one significant effect. Though, on the flip side, there are still people who still believe that, look, once they leave the European Union, there's still going to be a problem, because the immigration rules will be tougher than it used to be, stricter. But my major concern is this. Even for Nigerians who are in the United Kingdom, I will tell you this and it may interest you. Once you exhaust all avenue domestically before, whether somebody is about to be deported and you put all these barriers and what have you, by the time you get to the last court and they say there's no right of appeal, the next thing we do usually is to take the case to the European Court of Justice. But now, once they finally leave the European Union.
That's the end.
So are you saying that there are no ways that Nigeria can benefit from all of the changes that is going to take place?
Well, no. Nigeria will benefit in a way, because number one, take for instance, if they start the Australian point-based system, as I mentioned, definitely most Nigerians will be able to migrate to United Kingdom. So there is still that benefit. In terms of the economy, it is hard to predict now because there is still a negotiation going on. But the most significant is that if the European Union, you see, because there is a free movement of goods and services,
Absolutely.
those are one of the benefits of being a member of the bloc. But now that you are not a member, and goods are now coming to your country from an European country, if they impose tariff, that's going to have a significant effect. Yeah. It may well be United Kingdom will be looking to other countries, which will eventually benefit Nigeria.
Wow. Now, the other side is that there are also discussions as to, or debates as to Britain having a tighter relation with Commonwealth members. Is there going to be any change regarding how they trade with the Commonwealth?
Well, definitely there
Just to ensure they maintain that market.
Yes, at the end of the day, don't forget, if you've had the opportunity of trading with one particular country because you're a member of a bloc and you are no longer there, no doubt what you will do is to look outside.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And what they are saying is that maybe they're looking at Canada, they'll be using the World Trade Agreement, and there are a lot of things going on. Okay. But for now, according to the Minister of Trade, what he said is that, look, we will need to negotiate. And what the Prime Minister said last week is that even though we are leaving the European Union, but there's going to be a partnership agreement.
Okay. Right. Thank you very much, Olufemi Aina, for talking to us right now. Thank you.